So Islamic finance has grown tremendously in the previous year, where it reached around $2.44 trillion as 2017, mostly driven by the banking sector and also coming from the biggest countries. The industry was led by Bahrain and Malaysia and UAE based on our indicator, and the most driving aspects of it was digitalization and technology. So the next trend for Islamic finance and its growth is Islamic digitalization and fintech area, where everyone is growing into this field to compete with the conventional sector. So Islamic finance is currently growing tremendously in the SDG factor. So there are lots of social responsible aspects that they can work with, starting with the initial one, which is the fundamental of Islamic finance, is zakah, where they utilize lots of these assets to meet the demand of the social activities of SDG. One of them is meeting the poor needs, for example. Also on the women aspect and fairness of career development, there is also a growth in that aspect, where we have lots of women interested in Islamic finance and Islamic economy. Other things that are to support the environment, the life underwater and the life on the ground, on the air, we see that lots of entities within Islamic finance are actually going towards responsible finance, and it's also going towards corporate social responsibilities to support these activities of the needies in different type of the world.
SDGs cover a broad spectrum of social consideration. So when we look at travel space as one of the lifestyle sectors, I was just in Indonesia, Bali last week, and within the Islamic economy markets of tourism, Indonesia, UAE, Turkey, so forth, sustainability is a big consideration. In Indonesia in particular, sustainability of the beaches and the environment. Around the world, there's a term called over-tourism now, because the domestic economies or domestic communities are being affected negatively. So as halal tourism or Muslim-friendly tourism, or what we're calling widely the responsible tourism grows, these are aspects. This is one of the areas that, from a travel tourism point of view, or Islamic lifestyle point of view, SDG should be affected and can be affected. We know at government level where the efforts are around halal tourism, it's a topic that's still not on the agenda, and perhaps the entrepreneurs need to and the influencers in this space need to really look at the applicability of this particular aspect. Similarly, again, sustainability is a big one from a SDG point of view. Modest fashion. So while modest fashion is going mainstream and we're super excited about it, there's a lot of innovation, a lot of positive impact on SDG goals of job creation and innovation, which is coming from modest fashion as well. But sustainability is another area that needs to be looked at also in the modest fashion space, from a production of how things are produced, how are laborers treated, fair trade, etc. So this is another area where modest fashion can contribute to the SDGs. And as we've discussed always, the underlying ethos of Islamic lifestyle sector, Islamic economy in general, is very much along the lines of having social responsibility front and center.
So the strategy and vision of Dubai, the capital of Islamic economy, and the underlying initiatives within these sectors, we feel that it naturally fits in well within the framework of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. As a matter of fact, the center always has been promoting the idea that Islamic economy sectors have underlying principles that are very closely linked with SDGs. And in this particular report, the State of the Global Islamic Economy report, there is a mapping that was done between those SDG goals and the Islamic economy sectors. But with respect to our initiatives, particularly within the strategy, there are many that actually present and showcase that. For example, within the halal framework, there is a particular initiative that is global in nature called the International Halal Accreditation Forum. The forum intends to influence the partnership between different halal accreditation bodies to streamline the process that they use to accredit halal certification bodies and come up with a unified process that will ensure that the halal products are wholesome for the consumption of both the Muslim and non-Muslim consumer. That's one of the examples how subtly the initiatives are actually meeting those sustainable development goals. Of course, the 17 SDGs are all important, but if I were to pick and choose, in my personal opinion, I think there is one which is quite universal in nature by itself. So the goal number 17, which is global partnership for the common goals. And that, to be honest with you, that's kind of the DNA of our strategy, because the center always works with other like-minded stakeholders, both in the private and public sector, and globally speaking, not only in the region. So SDG 17 I think is quite important because it sheds the light on the importance of partnerships to achieve that sustainable development goal. So our work with jurisdictions and the MOUs that we have signed with other jurisdictions intend to work with them to create that collaboration in achieving the growth of the Islamic economy, and hence I think we are doing that in practice right now.